everyone, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. June is coming up. June is Pride Month. I absolutely love queer fiction, and so I want to show you some of the queer books that are on my TBR. This isn't necessarily a June TBR because realistically, I'm probably not going to get to every single book on this list, especially because I'm going on vacation for about half of June, but I still want to show you the books that I physically own that I'm really excited to read, as well as some books that I am looking forward to that I don't own and will be borrowing from my library. I'm also going to do a part 2 to this video where I am just talking about the queer books that I have checked out on Kindle Unlimited that I'm looking forward to as well. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. I want to start with the books that I don't own that I will be checking out from the library. Ignore the pile of books next to me. Just pretend you don't see it. So the first one is Someone You Can Build a Nest In. And this one just looks really interesting. First, the cover is very pretty. I like the UK version of the cover, but it's a new release. It came out in April, and this is a story about a monster, and this is a shape-shifting monster, and she's kind of chilling in this castle in like her blob form until hunters come through the building, and she is forced to like build herself a body out of whatever's in the castle, so like old bones, bear trap, etc., and she uses that to shape-shift into a human form, and she runs away. And as she's running through the forest, she does lose the hunters on her trail, but she runs into this other woman, and they start forming this like relationship, this connection, and she's like, this person would be such a good co-parent. From the summary itself, it's like, I can leave my eggs inside of her and our children can eat her from the inside out. If you haven't caught on by now, it's horror, except that she finds herself like falling for this woman and recognizes, oh, humans have entirely different conventions than like my people do, and she's working up the nerve to like tell her lover like what she is, except her lover says, I'm actually here to hunt down this shape-shifting monster. Do you know who that is? And she's like, ooh. And it turns out that they're doing that because the family thinks that she cursed them. She did not. She's like, the fuck? I didn't do that. So now they're on this mission together. And that sounds like give away a lot. I didn't. That's just the summary of the story. But the line that got me is, someone I can lay my eggs in so our children can eat her from the inside out. Bizarre, strange, and I love weird fiction, so I'm looking forward to that one. Then I have The 710 Split by Carmen Lee. This is a sapphic black romance. This is about two women who bowl together, and quite honestly, that's all I really needed to know. I am in my sports romance era, specifically sports that we don't see that often in the sports romance genre, bowling being one of them. I've heard very good things about this one, and at the very least, I know it's going to be a fun read, so I'm going to get to this at some point in my vacation. Fragments of a Fallen Star. I don't know shit about this one. I believe this is also a sapphic romance between two BIPOC women, and I think it's like pirates, but with fae and magic. That's all I understand, and honestly, I don't love knowing too much about the premise of a story before I jump on in. This cover is beautiful. That general premise of sapphic pirates with magic was enough to reel me in. Am I low for you? I feel like I'm low for you. I'm gonna adjust you a little bit. It's fine. Pretend that you didn't see the camera angle change. I think that's framed better. Just pretend I was there the whole time. Then I have Pole Position by Rebecca C. Joffrey, which is a MMF1 sports romance. Again, don't know shit about this book. All they said was gay sports romance, and I said, yes. All right, besties. Now we can talk about the books that I physically own that I will be prioritizing over the next few months in June, but also beyond that. Serpentine Valentine, I've spoken about a couple of times on this channel before. This is a story by Gianna Darling. I actually picked up this exact book when I went book shopping at the Ripped Bodice in Brooklyn, so if you want to see that video, I will have it linked. It was the last video that I posted. But Serpentine Valentine is a Medusa retelling, and that should tell you that it is a dark romance, because this is a story of a woman who goes to university and she is sexually assaulted by, I think, a professor on her campus, and when she reports this, no one believes her, including the president of the university, whom she has a very, very close relationship with. So not only did this awful thing happen, but she is also being ostracized by her community, and people are calling her a liar and just not believing what happened. So when she comes back to campus the next year, she is determined to get her revenge on everyone who has brought her her harm. And that includes those who did not believe her when she explained what happened. Part of her revenge is that she's going to seduce the president's daughter, and this is a story about their relationship. As I mentioned, this story is going to be quite dark. It is my first time reading a Gianna Darling. Narrative itself, the story itself, is something that I'm intrigued by, even though I do have some reservations in terms of sexual assault can be a huge trigger for me in books, as well as me not particularly loving books set in a college setting and dark academia not being my thing. Outside of that, this story has so many things going for it, and I still really want to get into it because it is a Medusa retelling in a sapphic way. You know her, you love her, and she's in my hands. It's The Honey Witch by Sydney Shields. Wow, me realizing I also don't know what this is about. I think it's a cozy sapphic fantasy. It's a story about this girl who is being pursued by all these suitors, and she really hates that. She just kind of wants to live her life, and her grandmother says, I'm going to whisk you away to this isle. You can learn magic, and you can become the Honey Witch. And that is what she does, except the Honey Witch is cursed. No one can fall in love with the Honey Witch. That is not allowed. But this other young woman shows up at her doorstep and is like, I don't believe in magic. I'm going to prove this, this, and this. And it is their love story. I think this is supposed to be very, very, very cozy, which just screams summertime read for me. Also picked up How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly. This is you got it, another sports romance, but also sapphic, and this time it's between a coach and a parent of a player on a team. So in this one, we have a coach. She is the coach of the high school basketball team, and someone new joins her team. It is this new student to the school who is a junior, and this student is like kind of causing trouble. It's just generally someone with a smart mouth, and she ends up meeting the student's foster parent, and it's the story of how they come together and fall in love. Again, I'm in my sports romance era. All you had to say was sapphic sports romance. I have 5 Broken Blades, which I just recently learned is queer. It's also quite beautiful. I'm gonna hold off on showing you the whole thing, even though I'm sure you've seen it, just because I'm doing a video where I show you my special editions that like I really love and think are quite beautiful. But this is a story about 5 assassins, and they live in this kingdom with this king who is quite honestly awful. Like, truly just an awful, awful person. Talking extreme wealth disparities. Lots and lots of people who have no money at all, and a very, very small number of people who have all the money. And the king's like, I don't give a fuck about you poor people. Fuck all of you. And like, all right, bet, fuck you too. So these 5 people come together, and their job is to assassinate the king, and you are following their journey as they go around doing this. However, where this gets queer is that I've heard we follow the perspectives of each one of the assassins in this story, but some of them have their own individual love stories, and some of those love stories are queer, including a queer bodyguard romance in here. So I'm really excited to read this. But I'm cautiously excited because I believe this is also published by the same people who publish Fourth Wing. And I'm going to end it there because I could go on a whole fucking rant. So let's just leave it at that. And then I have my final 4 books. You Should Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian is a historical sports romance set in the 1960s between a reporter and the player that he is reporting on. That's all I know about this story. I am hoping that I'm going to love this. It's a slow burn romance, so we shall see. And I have The Prospects by KT Hoffman. This is a sports romance. Again, this time we are in baseball, and this is a story about a player on the team. He is the first trans man on this team, and he really wants to find his big break and find himself feeling at home in the game that he loves so much, except that his ex-best friend gets drafted onto the team, and there is tension between each other. They are not good, and it's to the detriment of their team, and our main character recognizes this and decides, you know what, I'm gonna extend him an olive branch. We're going to be polite to each other. And he realizes that behind the haughty exterior of his former best friend is someone who's kind and gentle and sweet. Correction, not his former best friend, his former teammate, and sparks fly between them. This is a special edition. I got it secondhand from Pango Books, but it is the after extra light edition of The Prospect. And this one I will show you just because I like this one. It's just not my favorite special editions, even though the end papers are truly what sold me on it, because the end papers are so pretty. I will be looking forward to reading this soon. And I have The Witch King by H.E. Edmund. This is a book that I also own the audiobook of, but I saw this for $1 at my bookstore, so I did go ahead and pick this up. This is a story about a boy who is Fae, grew up in the Fae realm, and then just escapes to the human world one day, and when he does so, he decides to transition. And he's just trying to live his life in the human world when one day the Fae King comes to the human world and is like, yo, you're my betrothed. We're getting fucking married because that was arranged before you left and it's going to happen. And he's like, well, I'm a boy. And the Fae King's like, I don't care. We're engaged anyway. And whisks him off to the Fae world. And that's the story. I don't know what happens outside of that. And truthfully, I don't want to know what happens outside of that. I think it could be very easy to accidentally spoil myself. So the bare minimum that I know is Fae King comes to get his betrothed from the human world. And finally, I have The Sunbearer Trials by Aiden Thomas. This is a story I've heard described as like Hunger Games, but with gods and a queer cast. But this is a story of, I think his name is Tio, and Tio is the trans son of a goddess. And in this world, they live on this planet called Sol, and they have to have competitors compete in like this game. And whoever wins gets to kind of carry light and life to the temples, but the loser has the highest honor in that they're sacrificed to Sol, their god. And Tio ends up being drafted into the games, but not only is he drafted, he's paired with someone that he was not expecting, a very young child. I think the child is like 13 years old, and they are now forced to compete in these games. But while they're doing that, I think there's also this romantic subplot because Tio has this friend who's also in the game, and I think they find themselves attracted to each other, much like the other books on this list. I don't want to know too much about this. I have been putting this off for a little while just because it is YA, but quite honestly, I do really enjoy Aiden Thomas's writing, so I am looking forward to reading this kind of unique spin on this kind of story. All right, besties, and that does bring us to the end of this video. Just me talking you through some of the queer books that are on my TBR. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am going to do a part 2 of this where I'm talking you through the queer books that I have on my Kindle Unlimited TBR. So I am looking forward to that one. As always, thank you so much for watching this. If you did get to the end of the video and you want to leave me an emoji to let me know that you did, you can leave me the little sun emoji for my yellow nails, but also for the Sunbearer Trial. I do plan to do a video in June as well, talking you through my favorite queer books that I've read. These are just queer books that are on my radar. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It would be really helpful, and my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers this summer. I'm about 140 subscribers away, so share this video, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm going to see you in my next video on Sunday, or if you're watching this after I posted it, whenever the next Wednesday or Sunday is for you. Bye, besties!